Hello and welcome to Single Point Rubric and the how-to. So what we would like to try and do with you is walk you through single point rubricing and how you can create your own in your classroom.
The best way to start the whole process is to just be reminded of a few pieces that are really critical to really understanding a single point rubric. And that is the difference and similarities between formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment is assessment for learning in the moment. It's a stop point that has the teacher checking for understanding at that moment. And then that should drive your instruction for the next component of your lesson. It's day to day. It informs your instruction. It's continuous. So you're in a class, doesn't matter day or time, and you want to see how students are doing so far, that's when you'll do a pause point. You can do a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. There are many ways to do that. It is low stakes in that it's markless, it's informal, it's between you and your students. You are checking for understanding. That's the key part. It really plays a central and pivotal role in the classroom, and it involves really intense, deliberate, intentional feedback at the moment. This is an opportunity for you to coach students to success by using specific feedback. And that's why it plays such a central and pivotal role in your work. Summative assessment, on the other hand, is the assessment of the learning so far. So that's over a bigger piece. It takes place after students have completed a block of work. It's a summary of student progress. And it's periodic. It's not continuous like formative assessment is. It's a periodic measure of how students are progressing in their learning. And the marks are created for this component to share with stakeholders. The report card is the first thing that comes to my mind, that these are the marks. So summative assessment has the marking in it. Formative assessment lets you coach your students to success using feedback. There are similarities between the two. One, in that the outcomes are shared in student language, because students have a right to know where they're headed and what's expected of them in a language that they understand. And so there are references made to the outcomes during the lesson on the assessment, either formative or summative. And students provide evidence of their learning connected to the outcome. So thumbs up, thumbs down might be the formative piece that you use, but it's connected to a specific outcome. And there are multiple ways to do formative, and there are multiple ways to do summative. So those are really important pieces to consider as we move into the next component. And Lana and I put together an example of what we were talking about in terms of a single point rubric. And we literally used the New Learn Alberta Program of Studies to start. And we went through the organizing ideas, and we decided what we wanted to create a sample for. It's a really important component for you as a teacher to understand that you must ask yourself, when it comes to assessment, you have to ask yourself, what are the most important criteria that I want my students to show me that they know? Criteria, as you know, some are more important than others, some need more time, etc. So that's a good starting question. What do I really want my students to show me in this whole unit? What are the 4 or 5 components that I really want them to show me? And I want them to show me how well they know them. So we went into the program of studies, and this is a screenshot underneath this 1-point rubric, where we looked at the knowledge, understandings, and skills and procedures. We picked the writing organizing idea, and we started to look at the knowledge and skills. So you can see ideas and information can be articulated accurately and imaginatively through writing processes and an understanding of the author's craft. That's the organizing idea that we went to. Then we went into the knowledge component, which is the what. and the skills and procedures are a bit of the how. We looked at the knowledge component, and we pulled out a piece about sentences. And what we did was we took those three components that you see on the left under knowledge, and we put them into kid language in that single point rubric. So we're just going to show you where we went and how we did that to start with.
So Irene, I'll take the group here to more info. So this little button on the right-hand side of our curriculum that takes us to all of the organizing ideas from K to 6. And again, because our example was grade 2, we went down the grade 2 grade level, and it was writing that we were wanting to assess. And so we're going to go down to the writing area. And here is that organizing idea that you saw written on our rubric. And then scrolling down, the area that we really wanted to focus on was this one. So the sentence writing. What is it that students need to know in grade 2? And what are the pieces that we need to assess? So this is the area that we screenshotted, which then became this piece on our 1-point rubric. And between Irene and I, we had the conversation. What is it that we want to assess based on the cusps that we see in the curriculum and the actual organizing idea for grade 2? So Irene, if you want to go through this 1-point rubric on the student language that we have on the left-hand side, as well as the right-hand side, and then what skills based on that organizing idea that we pulled out and the cusps that we screenshotted from our curriculum, what did we come up with for the grade 2 rubric?
Well, to start with, we thought what would be appropriate student language for these grade 2 students. And because you can see that this is an opportunity for you to coach and for students to look at their own work, we felt that I am getting there would be an appropriate, understandable statement for a grade 2 person. And we, on the right-hand side, we said, I am there, which, is understandable language for a grade 2 person. The original sort of criterion or cusps is written in between the two words that are up there. So I can write a logical, organized sentence that develops one idea with correct capitalization and end punctuation. Now there are several skills in that particular cusp, so we need to break it down a bit. I can write a sentence as one of the skills. Notice that we said I can and my, so that students have a really clear understanding of what's going on. My sentence is logical and organized. I have written a sentence that develops one idea, and my sentence is written with correct capitalization and end punctuation. So we split everything up from that major criterion up there and broke it down into the different skills that students can do. A student could write a sentence, absolutely, with a capital and an end punctuation, but it doesn't seem logical, it doesn't make sense, and so on. So this is how we did that for grade 2.
Irene, can you comment
Yes.
on what does the actual assessment piece look like? So if you and I are conferring together, I'm the student, you're the teacher, what does this 1-point rubric assessment look like? What are we doing together?
Well, you're conferencing with a student. Perhaps you are sitting with a small group of students, and you're asking them about, I can write a sentence, and you're asking the student to talk to you about that. And do you think you're getting there? Are you there? You can also, it's an important piece if you want to conference with your students, is to ask them all the same question. So every student would have this, and I can go from student to student and say, today I'm going to talk to you about I can write a sentence. So we're going to have that quick chat and talk about where we're going, and I will give you coaching to move you to I am there. Tomorrow I might say, I'm going to, my sentence is logical and organized. Let's talk about that. And so on. So you can do 1 or 2 in a class. It's all up to you. So
So it really can
that's
be,
how you would use that.
yeah, and it can be a self-assessment as well as a teacher assessment.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Good for teacher
Okay,
conferencing.
let's look to grade 5. So what does this
Yes.
look like in grade 5? We've done a writing sample in grade 2. Let's jump to grade 5 to give you an idea of what a grade 5 example could look like.
And Lana and I did the same thing, essentially. We said, which organizing idea would we like to touch this time with grade 5? And we picked the organizing idea of comprehension. Text comprehension is supported by applying varied strategies and processes, and by considering both particular context, and universal themes. So we looked at the language and we said, what would a grade 5 student be comfortable with and understand? And we said the left side could say think about, and the right hand side could say wow, both being the positive and constructive feedback components. And we really did take that organizing idea and we broke it down into small pieces. So we took the cusps and we looked at those, and then we went back. It was very clear that this was about summarizing. Summarizing includes identifying main ideas and using supporting evidence. So if you look back at the single point rubric, that this is how we broke it down. Students should be able to identify the main idea of what they read, see, and hear, because not all text is print. Text is print, text is visual, text is something you can hear, and that's all considered text. So it would depend on what you are asking them to comprehend. I can identify supporting details of what I read, see, and hear. Supporting details just as important, but we want to see them separately because you might get that main idea, but you've got no supporting details, or your details are too many and too scattered and not really connected to the main idea. I can provide text evidence to support my summary, and text evidence is critical. The ongoing question all the time is, how do you know that? What makes you think so? And so I can use evidence from what I read, saw, or heard to say this is the main idea on page 3, so on and so forth. And the fourth piece is I can provide background knowledge to support my summary. What is something in your life, text to self, text to text, text to world, that that also helped you to create a summary with a main idea and supporting details. And so that's how we built this grade 5 piece. You can move these things over to summative assessment by perhaps choosing a few of these and putting them in a bigger rubric. You can use that for coaching like this all the time, but certainly it's very flexible. And we really wanted to show you exactly how we did this step by step. So you might consider doing something like this in your own work.
Right. So very similar to, again, the grade 2, where you are into your curriculum, you're going to your organizing ideas, and you're becoming familiar with those ideas that are in for your grade level. And again, that grade 5 example was comprehension. So going down to the organizing idea of comprehension, stealing that from the curriculum, and then looking at the cusps. And when you look down at the cusps, we actually went down to the second idea. This is where we screenshotted the knowledge, the understanding, the skills and procedures that became part of that rubric for our grade 5 example. And so when you're putting that rubric together, it is knowing what your organizing ideas are in your curriculum, and then figuring out what the cusps are. What is it that the kids need to know how to do? Those are the building blocks for
Great.
any of those rubrics that you're going to be making. So
Mhm.
hopefully the grade 2 and the grade 5 example that we shared with you today take you to this. You have completed and you've successfully completed that course on single point rubrics, and you take the chance actually to dive into your curriculum and rip it apart per se and just play with it. You can never go wrong, I think, with that conferencing with students and talking about what it is that they can do and the constructive pieces that need to happen to move them along in their learning. So